All right, welcome this evening to our school board meeting. It's December the 15th. To open our meeting, we've asked Director Cotton to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hey, excuse me, we didn't have a mic on that, by the way.
Okay.
Chair Larson, do we want to do that again? I don't think people.
I think it's okay. We
Okay.
said the pledge. So.
Very good.
Superintendent Corden, do you want to review the agenda for us?
Well, thank you very much. It's great to see everybody tonight. Grateful to be here with you. We have no additions or changes to the agenda tonight. Did want to excuse Director Bishop, who is out this evening, and excited to be here with you tonight.
All right, thank you. Marin from RHS Leadership, do you have a report for us this evening?
I most certainly do. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marin. I'm a senior and also this year's co-ASB president. Today, I have a very special limited edition, holiday edition report of all the goings on at RHS, and I guess I'll start with leadership. As many of you know, it is winter week this week. It's the last week before winter break, and everyone is super excited to get into the festive spirit. We have dress-up days and lunchtime activities each day this week, and today was a fun one. It was anything but a backpack day. Students were instructed to bring their school supplies in any container, any reasonable container that wasn't a backpack. So I saw some super creative ones like picnic baskets, doll houses, and even a pizza box or two. So students seemed to really have fun with that one. This week, we also have dress-up days like Flannel Day, Cozy Day, and Ugly Sweater Day for tomorrow. We're looking forward to tomorrow's gingerbread decorating contest at lunch, and we have snowflakes hidden around campus, which, if found, can be returned for prizes. It's overall just been super fun to see a lot of participation and festive spirit this week. On a more serious note, Chelsea and I are getting the Middle School Connection project going. So what that looks like is Chelsea and I, as co-ASB presidents, are getting ready to speak at the middle school leadership classes just about, in general, how leadership works at the high school level, and to bounce ideas off of one another to leading up to a joint kindness week that will be with all 3 schools come spring. Chelsea and I are currently training some younger students in leadership to take over this project when we graduate. Now, I have some very exciting sports news for you today. Our own Mr. Thompson was chosen as the NFHS Northwest Baseball Coach of the Year, and that was for the Northwest section, which includes Alaska, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, and of course, Oregon. So now he's one of 8 others that are now competing for that national title. In other news, winter track workouts started December 7th, and wrestling has their very first home meet tonight, and apparently they don't get much of a break because this weekend they're traveling to Reno for the Reno Champions Tournament. Swim had their first home meet last week and another home meet today, and boys basketball solidly won their game yesterday against McNary. Both boys and girls basketball will compete in tournaments this weekend and over break. Now, other than winter week and plenty of exciting sports news, there are still plenty of exciting things that are happening at RHS in general. Right now, yearbooks are on sale for $55, and this Thursday, Brain Bowl Trivia Team is having a competition against Coquille. FFA competed in the Umpqua District Vet Science Career and Leadership Development event, and their advanced team took 3rd and their beginning team took 1st. Very exciting for them. Like I said, lots of opportunities to get into the holiday spirit on campus. The library is hosting candy cane reindeer crafts during lunch, and leadership recently decorated the campus for winter. We have lights, gossamer wreaths all over the place. The campus looks like a Christmas tree, and I'm not complaining about it. FCCLA just wrapped up a very successful food drive. Ken was our winner, bringing the most items in at 888 food items. Ms. Cecilius's class brought up that 2nd place with 529. The Counseling Center is now hosting their morning meetings, and the morning group walks through skills to start their day in a more healthy way. So this looks like mindfulness activities and strategies for coping with stress. Like I said, it's a very exciting week on campus. It's the last week before break. There's a band concert tonight and a choir concert tomorrow. But once students return from break, finals are in just 3 weeks. But for now, students are super excited for break, and I know I sure am. Like I said, the last day is tomorrow. And overall this week, especially after a tough few years, we're very grateful for the positivity and support that both staff and students have shown recently, whether it's the generosity of students from the FCCLA food drive, or even the positivity of staff. It's really hard to walk through a school hallway anymore without coming out with a smile on your face, because every single person in that hallway is laughing or smiling, just really excited for the holidays. So that's all I have for today, and thanks for your time. Have a great break.
Thank you, Maren. We appreciate your report and the good things that are happening at RHS. I actually just left that swim meet. So a little out of breath. All right, tonight for our student and staff recognition, we have students from Fremont, RHS, Fullerton, and Green and staff members that we'll be recognizing. So to begin, we're going to start with V. Vassar, who's a 7th grade student at Fremont. Oh, no. We can go back. We'll do Brianna first. I have 2 different lists with different orders. We'll start with Brianna. All right. Brianna Villanueva is known as a leader who displays respect, empathy, perseverance, and charisma. She is someone whom others know they can go to when they need help on schoolwork or if they need a friend at recess. She stands up and encourages those around her to show the same responsibility that she exhibits. She's a hard worker and is determined to get through any stuck point that she faces. Her hard work, determination, and charisma will give her endless opportunities in life. Keep going, Brianna. We're excited for your future. Again, she's a 5th grader at Fullerton, and Superintendent Corden's going to share this in Spanish as well.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair Larson. We're grateful for Brianna's family is here tonight, and I'm going to do this in Spanish as well. So es un placer decirles unas cositas de Brianna. Brianna es una persona linda y maravillosa. Ella es un líder que muestra respeto, empatía, perseverancia y carisma. Brianna es alguien quien otros saben que pueden confiar cuando necesitan ayuda con el trabajo escolar o si necesitan un amigo en el recreo. Ella es un ejemplo para otros, enseñándoles cómo mostrar la misma responsabilidad que muestra ella. Brianna es una gran trabajadora y está dedicada a superar cualquier desafío que encuentre. Su determinación y carisma le brindarán infinitas oportunidades en su vida. Sigue, Brianna. Vas a tener una futura maravillosa.
Thank you. Congratulations, Brianna.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Our next student that we're going to recognize is V. Vassar from Fremont Elementary School, Fremont Middle School. Like I said, need to catch my breath. V is a quiet leader and exemplifies Fremont's epic core values: empathy, perseverance, integrity, and community. V demonstrates being an epic student by consistently being reliable, making smart decisions, never giving up, and being trusted to always do the right thing. It's clear why the decision to honor V was an easy one from all teachers. V loves to be at school, and this can be seen anywhere on Fremont's campus. When not focusing on schoolwork, V loves to draw, sketch, and work on digital art. V has a goal of attending college and looking to potentially focus on art or the field of computer programming. Congratulations to V. Our next is Roseburg High School junior Hunter Fullerton. Hunter Fullerton has maintained a 4.0 grade point average while taking honors English and math, along with several business classes. He's also the vice president of media for FBLA and plays basketball and softball. RHS teachers describe Hunter as dedicated, kind, compassionate, helpful, respectful, patient, inquisitive, and humble. Teachers also noted that Hunter asks probing questions, is a dedicated athlete and scholar, and is hardworking. Hunter, who enjoys fishing and hiking, hopes to major in business after he graduates. Keep up the great work, Hunter. All right, this evening, we are going to recognize some outstanding staff members. I'll let you go to the next slide. Okay. It's like, I don't know what order they're in. This is Holly Knox, the Fullerton librarian. Holly has taken on the role of librarian with a tremendous amount of enthusiasm and energy. Holly spent countless hours transforming the Fullerton Library into a cozy and inviting space for students by creating a home-like atmosphere. Her love of books and creativity radiate through the library. She pours her heart into her work and makes Fullerton a place where students thrive and feel loved. She aims to make positive connections with all of our students. We're lucky to have a dedicated and determined librarian who's making a positive impact for our kids and families. Congratulations, Holly. We'd also like to recognize Jenna Cummings, the Fullerton Turnaround Program teacher. Jenna came to Roseburg as a first-year teacher in the Turnaround Program at Fullerton. She meets the challenges she faces with humor and confidence. The knowledge she brings into her role and her willingness to openly support staff and students is inspiring. She has a wonderful ability to take complex problems and offer her team members solutions in a way that's both positive and genuine. Her connection with others is always authentic. Jenna has a big heart for students, and she's been a huge encouragement to the entire Fullerton team. We're incredibly grateful that she chose to start her career at Fullerton. Congratulations, Jenna. Next, we'd like to recognize Mike Booz, who's the Green Elementary evening custodian and has been filling in for the site operator. Mike has helped keep Green running smoothly while subbing for the school site operator. He's always willing to step in and do anything that is needed, from cleaning to repairs. Staff note Mike's positive attitude and appreciate him for looking out for all the students and staff. He brings a sense of humor and friendly nature to the job and is a great example of a hard worker. Thank you for all you do at Green Elementary School, Mike. And finally, tonight, we're going to recognize Jamie Hummel, who's Green Elementary's PE teacher. Jamie puts her heart into planning and prepping for PE. She's very passionate about her job and goes above and beyond, both in her PE program and Green on the Run. Staff report that Jamie is loved by her students and always brings a positive and uplifting attitude to the school, always going the extra 500 miles for the kids. She makes sure PE is welcoming and all are included. She's been especially supportive of building community throughout the school and focuses on keeping our students connected. Congratulations, Jamie. Thank you. Thank you for all of your work. We're grateful to have such excellent students and staff members. We really do appreciate the difference that you make in our school system. All right, the next item on our agenda is to approve the consent agenda from the November 17th meeting. I think there are no changes or amendments to this, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve these.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
I will second that motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so the consent agenda has been approved, and our next time is set aside for public participation. I'm going to ask Assistant Superintendent Michelle Nee to just advise people on how our protocol and procedure works. She'll remind you that we have a 2-minute time limit, and she'll remind you about using the raise your hand function within Zoom. Assistant Superintendent Nee.
Thank you, Chair Larson. Just as a reminder, as Chair Larson mentioned, it's a 2-minute time limit. We have 20 minutes set aside for public participation. If you would like to speak, please use the raise your hand feature. I can find that in the bottom left-hand corner under reactions. All right, we have one hand raised. Mickey Hall.
Good evening. I just wanted to, can you hear me, Michelle? Okay. I
Yes,
just
we
wanted
can hear
to,
you.
I just wanted to say congratulations to all of the kids and all of the teachers that were honored tonight. But I especially wanted to say something very briefly to thank every one of the board members who are serving and all of the community members that served on the bond committee. But the board, no one really knows how much the board works. It's all volunteer. They don't get paid. And I'm thankful for each and every one of you. And Merry Christmas.
Thank you,
Thank
Mickey.
you, Mickey.
Chair Larson, at this time, there are no other hands raised.
Okay, we will move on. Let's go ahead and look at the next agenda item, which is the presentation of the 2021 audited financial statements. So we have members of the auditing team from KDP, Certified Public Accountants, that will be presenting their report. So I'll turn the time over to Cheryl. Does Cheryl want to?
Yeah, we have Aria here, who is the audit lead, and she will take it away. Aria, do you have any of your other staff with you tonight?
No, it's just me today.
Okay. Then, go ahead.
All right. All right. Well, my name is Aria Bettinger. I am an audit partner with KDP Certified Public Accountants in Medford. And you have engaged us to audit your June 30, 2021 financial statements. So I'm going to provide a summary of the audit and some of our required communication that we have to provide to the board. So not usually the most fun part of the board meeting, but we'll see what we can do here. So management is responsible for preparing the financial statements in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles in the United States. We're responsible as your auditors to express an opinion on those financial statements. For those of you who have copies of the audit, if you go towards the back to page 62, that is a summary page that basically of our audit. It gets rid of all of the numbers and the details and summarizes what we found. So the first opinion we provide is on your financial statements. That opinion that we provided is an unmodified opinion. It's the highest level of assurance we can provide. Overall, we have given the district a clean opinion. Because the district spends more than $750,000 in federal funds, you're also required to have an additional audit called a single audit. Because of this, the audit has to be performed under government auditing standards. There's a compliance and other aspects involved. In doing this, we look at internal control over financial reporting. We did not identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses relating to the audit of the financial statements in internal control over financial reporting. We are also required to look for any instances of non-compliance. We did not identify any instances of non-compliance over the basic financial statements. This other audit we also do is specific to the federal awards. In this year, the two federal award programs that we audited was the Education Stabilization Fund, which is a lot of your ESSER funds that was new this year as a result of COVID, and then Title I grants to local education agencies. During this audit, we did identify one material weakness and no significant deficiencies relating to the audit of the major federal award programs. The next page gives a little more detail about that finding. So in accordance with uniform guidance, the district is required to maintain signed documentation to support payroll costs charged to Title I. Due to some change in processes and some turnover at the district, this compliance requirement was not 100% being met. This is just signed documentation that the employee and their supervisor takes ownership that the time spent was for Title I. So we recommend that the district review their internal controls and strengthen their processes around this. We've already had conversations with the district. They've already implemented changes so that this won't happen going forward. I mean, this was something that's just basically slipped through the cracks. We did identify it. We're working with the district. They're on top of it. I believe it's already been corrected, although we have not audited that. But we are open to any questions they have to make sure that this doesn't come back next year. In addition, in that audit, we did not identify any issues of non-compliance related to the federal awards program. So that's sort of the summary of We also do one other report. There's state requirements on Oregon minimum standards and local budget law, and nothing came to our attention that the district was not in significant compliance with Oregon minimum standards or local budget law. So those are the 4 reports that we provide. And then there's some required communication with governments we'd like to go over as well. So we do send out an engagement letter at the beginning of the audit explaining this plan, scope, and timing of the audit. We've already explained what our roles are and what management's roles are. Note 1 in the financial statements is a summary of the accounting policies. They're pretty standard. Nothing has changed year over year. There was no new accounting guidance that came out. There are some significant accounting estimates that we call out for the district. Those are mostly related to property taxes, pensions, and other post-employment benefits, and depreciation. We evaluate the key factors and the assumptions underlying those, and we find that it's reasonable. So we don't have any disagreements with those. There are a few disclosures in the financial statements we like to call out. They seem especially significant. Those are related to your long-term debt, your pension, and then you also had a subsequent event, which was July, I believe it was August of this year, where you issued some pension obligation bonds. So we call that out as well because it's significant to the district, even though it happened after year end. During the course of normal audit procedures, there's usually some adjustments that are noted. Management has corrected all identified in the statements. Most of them were not material. There was one material adjustment noted, and that was related to the student investment account funds, where, which was an unusual situation where the state would require the district to take all of the funds prior to year end, even though they had not all been spent prior to year end. We found this a lot with most of our districts, where instead of recording that as revenue, it needed to be recorded as deferred revenue since it was spent subsequent to year end. That was the only material adjustment that we noted. As part of our audit, management does sign a management representation letter taking ownership of the financial statements and the information provided to the auditors. We had no disagreements with management, no other significant matters or findings or issues. And we also discuss in here some of the responsibility we take with some of the required supplementary information and other supplementary information that's also included in your financial statements. I mean, overall, I would say that Cheryl and Bennis and the whole accounting department are really great to work with. They take a lot of pride in their work. They have a lot of integrity. We feel really honored to be your auditors, and we really enjoy working with the district. That's a summary, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anybody have questions?
Thank you for your time and effort. May I ask 2 questions?
Of course.
How many human hours did you spend on this audit?
Oh, goodness. I have not quantified that. That is a good question. Can I get back to you on that one? It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds.
I'd be very grateful if you get back to me on that.
Yeah.
And my second question, this is what, your 4th year?
With the district?
Yes.
Me personally, I believe this is my 3rd year with the district. I did have a year where I was not on the audit.
I would like to inquire about the karma between district staff and your staff as far as sharing of the information. Do you feel it's about the same this year, better than last year, on the road to progress, or we need some improvement?
Could you sharing information? Could you clarify? I guess I don't.
Well, when you in the process of doing your audit, you see something that raises a concern.
Mm-hmm.
And bring that to management, Cheryl and her staff. How did they respond? Would they give you positive feedback where you did feel like you had to pull teeth to get information, or was they straightforward with you?
They're great. They are, in my experience, if we have concerns or feedback, they take ownership. If it's something that they, agree with, and they are always wanting to change and correct things if that's necessary. And then if it's something that we maybe we didn't see something. Will point out like, oh, well, did you notice this over here? They're great to work with overall. We've never had any concerns or conflict. I feel like they're very, very open and very upright. I don't know if that's the right word, but.
And also you mentioned that there were several items that you felt needed to have a different approach to, and you mentioned they're already in place. Will this be a footnote next year, or will it end this year?
So next year, because this was identified as a material weakness this year, it will go on the audit report next year as a prior year audit finding. So if we will have to audit the Title I program again, because we did have this material weakness this year. If we find the same finding, it'll be on there again. If we don't find the same finding next year, it will go on there as a prior year audit finding.
Well, I'd like to personally thank you for an unmodified, no incident audit. Thank you very much.
Well, don't thank me for that, but you're welcome. That's your team. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Action item number 2 is the results of our Community Bond Development Committee and their findings. And Superintendent Corden, are you coordinating this?
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I want to welcome a part of the participants that have been working with our Community Bond Development team. They have a presentation for the board tonight. We have with us tonight Eric Grosjean. All 4 of these members tonight are members of our community. Eric is a physician's director with the Centennial Medical Group and a pediatric hospitalist. Corey Peachy-Briggs tonight, community member, parent, and also a Roseburg Public Schools alum. We have Jennifer Sykes with us. Jennifer is a parent of 3, also works at Knife River Materials. She's a construction project manager and estimator. And we have with us also Lance Colley, a community member who serves on, I can't remember how many nonprofit boards, several, former city manager and also former employee of Roseburg Public Schools. So thank you very much for being here tonight, and we'll turn the time over to you. Group, I will get the presentation up here and I'll follow your lead on when we're going next.
Perfect. I'm Eric Grosjean. Again, one of the members of the committee. First, thanks to the board for allowing us to present this evening. The first question we want to kind of ask on this is why did we come up with this bond, and why is this bond important?
Next slide.
Next slide, please, Jared. The first point there, and I want to elaborate on a little bit, it really is an investment in Roseburg's children, as well as an investment in the community, as a whole. With full disclosure, I grew up here. I went through the public school system in Roseburg. Got 3 kids that have done the same. And now going full circle, my daughter's finishing her master's in teaching and wants to come back and teach at Roseburg High next year. So I've been around it a lot for a long time. In my current role at the hospital, I oversee the specialist medical group. So we hire all the physicians that come in as surgeons, gastroenterologists, cardiologists, et cetera. So we do a lot of recruiting. As part of that process and really trying to recruit physicians and other professionals to the community, the health of the school system, honestly, is one of the most critical pieces. Most of these people are either have young families or are looking to start families when they're coming out of training. And every single time, one of the main questions is about what's the school system and the health of that in the community. So I know it's an important part of what we have to offer, and the professionals we bring in are extremely interested in what our school system looks like and what our education process looks like. So that's one of the main points I think that we came to of why we felt this was important.
Our children really deserve to learn and grow in a safe and secure, healthy educational environment. Meaning, the more safe and secure our kids feel in their schoolroom, in their classroom, in their outdoor areas where they're doing their PE, the better opportunities they're going to have to grow, not just academically, but emotionally and socially. And that's really what we're all about, is not just our kids, but we have to be focused on our community as well.
Our schools are also huge community assets. Part of our responsibility is to continue to maintain and improve those assets. We need to make sure that these schools are up to date, fitting the current learning situations that are needed, up to the current technology and safety requirements.
Every school in our district is going to, with the bond that we have, and this bond would experience increased safety, accessibility, and quality education upgrades. There are several buildings within the public school district here that you can walk on campus and walk around for hours and you would never find them. So that's one of the main things on why this bond, we want to be able, when the community is looking towards coming into the community, saying, how's your schools? They are safe. They are accessible. We've created quality education.
So hi, I'm Lance Colley. Also grew up in Roseburg, born and raised here, went through Roseburg Public Schools, class of 76. Went on to UCC and then to U of O. And as Jared mentioned, I did work for the school district for about 10 years and was also the city manager for the city of Roseburg for 7 years. During all of that time, I spent a lot of time working with economic development groups locally, with Douglas County, with the Partnership for Economic Development. And I also work with a lot of our community partners, the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, a lot of youth activities and youth sports, youth clubs that rely on the school district and school district properties for recreation. And I just want to say that working with economic development groups, like Eric said, virtually every economic development opportunity that we had in talking to companies that wanted to locate or relocate, companies that wanted to expand into our community, people ask about the school district. And it was always easy to say that we had great educators. It was not as easy to say that we had great facilities. We were able to improve a number of our facilities with the last bond issue. We think as a group that we've put forth a recommendation that you'll see in a little bit that we could be very proud of, that our community can support, and that would really allow us, when we're talking to economic development partners, to really say, not only do we have great educators, but we've got facilities that will allow our students to grow and to get a great education here.
And the last point on this slide is that currently Roseburg Public Schools has no capital improvement bond. Interestingly, in some of the polling results that we looked at, 5% of the people felt that we had just passed a bond recently, so why would we need to put another one to vote? My understanding is the last bond that passed was in 2000. So we felt this was important to get the needs of the schools met as much as we could with this bond.
The plan for this was to start out with it being a community-driven process. The district put out an all call to the community to see who wanted to be involved. You'll see here there's a list of 18 names of folks that participated in the 6 meetings we've had so far. This group's been at this since August. You'll see there's quite a diverse group of people that have been involved in this process so far.
So on that, with the background of the bond, our roles and responsibilities were to review the information that was related to the district's education, our vision, enrollment trends, and our facility needs, reviewing the public polling data, which we've discussed a little bit. And we will go into further detail related to different bond packages and what the different scenarios would be if we did this much, if we did that much, what would we need to do? And really was to serve as an advocate for the process in our community, our colleagues, our neighbors, and our children, not just our children, but our grandchildren. What is it going to look like for the next one? Prioritizing investment priorities that best serve our students. And our purpose was to develop a recommended bond package for the consideration of you guys as the Roseburg School Board.
So some of the guiding principles that the committee developed along the way was to be responsible stewards of the community by demonstrating fiscal responsibility, transparency, environmental sustainability, and clear communication throughout the process. We also wanted to make sure that we provide schools that are student-centered and designed to support students, families, and community members. Our schools should instill a sense of pride and unity to not only every student, but the members of the community as well. We also wanted to make sure that we cultivate relationships between the community and school facilities to ensure success in the classroom and beyond. Emphasize the role of our schools in the promotion and support of community development and success. We also desire to support the community by making investments in our schools, construct and/or modernize facilities that will support present and future educational needs. I mentioned earlier that this group has been working since August. So the Roseburg Public Schools launched a community-driven process in August of 2021 to ensure our efforts to create a stronger educational system for our students and reflect the community's priorities. We extended the invitation to participate throughout the community to ensure we heard from a variety of voices and stakeholders. So we started in August. There's been 6 committee meetings, and several of these items we've already brought up, but we've gone over the past bond history. We've talked about key initiatives and priorities. There's been numerous group exercises as to how we can make this process successful. There's been development of the guiding principles that we just went over. We reviewed the 2020 bond projects to see what was in that package. There's also been community input that was reviewed, group prioritization exercises, bond finance scenarios. We've reviewed community polling, prioritized critical facility needs. The estimate was over 300 million. The polling identified that really the package we needed to put together should be around 154 million. So we had to pare down the most dire needs and then develop the proposal for the board.
And before we go to the next slide, I think it's important for the board to understand, and once again, thank you for allowing us to provide what we all think is critical input into this process. We had, as Jennifer mentioned, about 18 people. Almost all of those people were present at each of the 6 meetings or were updated by other members of the group. This was not haphazardly put together. We were able to meet with some of the district's consultants. We had a pretty detailed presentation by Carol Samuels from Piper Jaffray, who is your bond consultant that the school district has been working with for a number of years. We met with your architect and also Jeremy Wright. So the group, and we also got a lot of input from your administration on critical needs within the district. so that when Jennifer just mentioned this started out with $300 million, that was reflective of what your staff put together. And as a community member, I want to say thank you very much to Jared and his team because they were very helpful in walking us through. We toured a couple of the different facilities. You see on your screen there, Melrose. One of the things I didn't mention was that both my parents were educators in the school district for almost 30 years. My father was principal at Melrose for 25 years. So, and I think Eric also went to Melrose in his younger days. So we have a lot of ties to the community. We have a lot of ties to the school district. And this was a very important process to us because we don't have a lot of new facilities. The two primary new facilities are at the high school. And so this was a process that I think people were very invested in. So just, again, want to say thank you for that. I have the next slide. So Jared, if you could move it forward. Community polling is always an important part of trying to determine as a board whether or not you want to move forward with putting a levy on the ballot. And I believe that the board has seen the polling results. But for those who are on Zoom and who might listen to this at a later time, Patinkin Research Strategies did the initial polling. My understanding is that you're likely to do some additional polling, but 400 respondents were surveyed. To some, that seems like a lot. To some, it doesn't seem like very much. But statistically speaking, that allows Patinkin to draw a lot of conclusions. And I think, again, to the point I made earlier, the poll asked, how satisfied are you with the quality of education in the district? And 2/3 of the people said somewhat or very satisfied. And I think that that's very important. And again, that speaks to the educators and the administration and the folks that you have in your building. It doesn't speak to the buildings. So several bond scenarios were tested from a low of 109 million to a high of 154. And obviously, as you increase the amount of money available, you increase the scope of the projects that you have. And one of the things that Patinkin found interesting, as did we as an advisory committee, was that the highest support was for the largest amount. And what we believe that really means is our community recognizes that it's important now, and it's important to get as much done as we can for the value that we put out there. Obviously, they polled some things around tax rates and other things that people were keeping in mind, but that the largest amount that they polled did have the most support. So as Patinkin went through and asked a number of questions, the thing that rose to the surface as the highest needs were health and safety. And you'll see that was prioritized in our recommendation. Energy efficiency was also prioritized, and accessibility. And that's both physical and equity accessibility. And so we felt that we utilized the direction from the polling to then go through and strategize the bond package recommendations. So we hope that what we put forward to you as you consider it and maybe do some additional polling will really let the community know how much we appreciated their input and what we put together.
So as we mentioned earlier, there's more than $300 million in critical renovations, upgrades that are needed within the facilities. The bond committee worked really hard to prioritize the district's top needs. We got it pared down to the 154 million that was suggested by the consultants. That would mean that based on the current assessed values, the estimated bond rate would be approximately $1.85 per thousand of assessed value. So of that 154 million, about 39% of the money in what the package that we're proposing would go towards health, safety, and security. That would mean increased security through proper vestibules at entrances, new generators at 11 schools, elementary playground improvements, middle school track replacements, and new synthetic turf fields.
And I don't know if all of you were around when we put the synthetic turf in it at Roseburg High School. But that allowed that to become the single largest classroom that Roseburg Public Schools has. And that, I think if you ask anybody involved in the organization, was a really good decision for back in the day. And some of those proposals are moving forward. So the next slide, approximately 23% of the investment would go to building systems and energy efficiency. As many of you are aware, our HVAC systems are a bit archaic, and in most cases, we don't have any air conditioning. So ventilation, air conditioning, balancing temperature control is extremely important. The district historically has done a pretty good job keeping up with roofing, but obviously the resources coming from this bond would allow us to do a significant amount of roofing. Plumbing and electrical needs, as you can see at the right, we have an old boiler from Fremont there, and a newfangled thermometer that indicates that the temperature in one of our classrooms at Fremont was 103 degrees. Obviously, not the best learning environment, and that was early in the day, I believe, and we were having kids trying to extend their learning at that point in time. So our building systems, I think our staff does a great job keeping up as best they can, but these are very extensive and expensive improvements. And so I think the entire committee thought that these were very important to consider as you move forward.
And about 38% of the investments from this bond proposal would go to educational improvements. Educational and facility improvements at all the elementary schools and both of the middle schools are included in this bond. There are career and technical education and vocational educational investments. This bond encompasses replacing the old main building at the high school, but in a way that maintains its history and at least the historical architecture elements. And the last piece is there are 5 multi-purpose facilities that are part of this bond that would be unattached buildings at 5 of the elementary schools. There's a rendering you can see on the top right of this page. This was an interesting concept, and we all initially there were a lot of questions, but we all came to understand why this was important. There are several of our grade schools that have a single facility, both for gymnasium and lunch, and that creates some space problems for them. These buildings would also provide community access, for activities that people could utilize these things. Other community groups, as well as sports and clubs and things, certainly would be utilizing them. They're also envisioned as, an immediate occupancy for community shelter. They each have a generator. So as from a community standpoint, it would serve a big function there. We've had obviously recent things with fire displacement and things of that nature. Earthquakes are proposed. So that's an important part of understanding what these are. And maybe the biggest or one of the biggest pieces too is the economic development. You know, with the tracks and the turf fields that Lance was talking about, these facilities are going to allow this community to host other things, host tournaments and things that our kids all go out of town to do right now. But that's going to bring a lot of people into the community as we can host those things in our town. Hotel use, restaurant use, economic growth will be a big part of that.
So the last slide, we just want to make sure that, you know, right off the bat, we acknowledged all of the community members that were part of this, but we want to especially point out the Roseburg Public Schools administration that worked with us through this, as well as your consultants, so that you're aware. We were well informed throughout this process as we worked on this recommendation. So that concludes our presentation. I think all of us are happy to answer any questions that you may have or follow up with you at a later date. We understand you'll be considering this in greater detail as far as your discussion goes at your first meeting in January. But we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. These are all their recommendations that we will have time to wrestle with and consider. But I know that Andrew was a major part of that process, and I was there and Rod was there. And I know one time Reverend Johnson came, and we really appreciate your thoughtful efforts. They worked hard and have done an incredible job representing and balancing both fiscal responsibility with the most critical needs. So do you guys have any questions tonight? We kind of have January set aside for that, but is there anything pressing that you need addressed this evening? Nope. Okay. Well, thank you very much for your presentation this night and for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Director Northam, do you want to talk to us about Resolution 21-2213, accepting and appropriating coronavirus recovery grant money?
I would very much like to talk to you about that. So Douglas ESD received some grant funds from the Coronavirus State Fiscal Recovery Fund. Roseburg School District's share of that is about $350,000. The idea was that the Douglas ESD would purchase equipment and give it to the school district. However, Apple requires entities to purchase equipment directly from Apple in order for the equipment to be included in a device management platform that we use. So I'm asking the board to pass this resolution, approximately $212,000. That would give us the spending authority to buy the equipment, and we would be reimbursed for that equipment by Douglas ESD. And the remaining $140,000 will be in equipment that is given to us, purchased by Douglas ESD, and then forwarded to the school district.
Okay, thank you. Anyone have questions? Well, let me take a motion. Anyone? Chair will entertain a motion to approve this resolution accepting this appropriation of the grant.
I'll make that motion.
All right.
And I will second that motion.
Okay, now let's go to any questions you have for Cheryl about this. Any questions? I'm looking around. It's so nice to see you in person and just be able to read your face.
I'm satisfied with the explanation that we've gotten for why we're doing it this way. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Reverend Johnson, you good?
I just want to make a comment that this is an accounting procedure more than an outflow of cash. She mentioned that once we spend it, we'll get it back. So this is the technicalities, and I think we should get it done.
All right, all in favor of approving this resolution, say aye. Aye. All right, there will be none opposed. Thank you. Superintendent Corden.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to do a very short report tonight. I want to start by thanking the members that presented us tonight, as well as the full group. And of course, that includes the board as well. We had several board members. Grateful for Director Shirtcliffe as he headed up this on the board side of things, and Chair Larson and Director Cotton, and also Director Johnson for the help on this. And I think it says a lot about our community. We have great people here, and I really appreciate both the structure and support we received through that, as well as the time that people spent to authentically dig into the really important and deep work around our future as a community and our future of our school. So I'm very, very grateful for that. Also want to just thank our business office, and we had our audit tonight, and an unmodified opinion, although it sounds odd, I'm not an accountant, struggle with that a little bit, is as good as you can do in terms of the audit. And I appreciate it's worth calling out the entire business office for their work, and especially Cheryl Northam, who serves as both our Chief Operations Officer and our Financial Officer. They do an outstanding job. They model what we try to do throughout the district, which is to be transparent and accurate, and their sense of accountability also matches my expectation as a superintendent when we went in all departments. So I'm grateful for their work on that as well. I guess lastly, I want to just spend just a real quick minutes thanking our board and our staff and our parents, our community, and our entire community for what has been a great year. I oftentimes get asked, like, you know, how are things really going? What is it like in a pandemic? And I said earlier, I was on the radio early this week talking about the fact that, you know, as a school district, we really have moved toward clearly understanding that there's a pandemic, but we don't think about it like that. We decided early in the year we were going to really have an endemic mindset, which is, yes, we need to absolutely focus on student safety, and we have, but we're going to focus on being back. We're going to focus on making sure kids have increased opportunities and that we can keep our schools open. And it really, although it sounds cliche and a bit cheesy, it does take a village of people to get behind that movement. And if it wasn't for the board and your support, if it wasn't for our parents and their support, our community, and for our amazing kids who are doing incredible things every day, we just wouldn't have had the year that we've had. And I know there are challenges in front of us. I know there are challenges afar off, and there are things, hurdles we've cleared, thank heavens. But I appreciate so much the efforts of our community to really pull together for the benefits of our kids. I'm super proud of that. I also want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a wonderful new year. Thank you.
Thank you. Individual reports from directors. Do you have anything this evening, Director Shirtcliffe?
No, I do not.
Director Lee?
Well, I just want everybody to know that I'm really happy to see it raining, like it ought to rain in Oregon, and to see the snow up in the mountains where it belongs. And it's been a long time. I hope that this keeps up. I don't know that we can take credit for it, but it's made me cheerful this last few days.
Director Kermit.
I just, I'm not as much a number person as some of you business people here on the board, but just looking at the audit and the summary of the bottom line is that we did really well and that we are handling things in a fiscally responsible way, which is nice to know and be confident in. So I'm appreciative of Cheryl even more so for what she does. And also as the working on the curriculum and instruction committee, I'm looking forward to in January, we're going to be reviewing and starting the review process of some new curriculum. And so I'm looking forward to working with Michelle and some of the administrators on that, on the selection. So hope you all have a Merry Christmas as well.
Thank you. Reverend Johnson.
Nothing to report this time.
Dr. Cotton. All right. Well, thank you all for coming to our meeting. We will adjourn until January 12th, 2022, a new year. And so Merry Christmas and happy holidays.